pivotal rulings on abortion, guns, the separation of church and state. And now the court says next term, which starts in the fall, they will take up a case with serious implication for elections, all federal elections.
The Constitution says that state legislatures make the rules for voting in each state. What the issue is in this case is whether state courts can review the decisions of state legislatures. So what that means in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, these extremely right-wing legislatures with strictly gerrymandered seats can make any sort of rules they want in legislatures in their states without any sort of oversight from the courts, which would give them carte blanche to draw districts and maybe even simply declare the winners of state races.
A Vox article proclaims that the U.S. is about to see its biggest threat to democracy since January 6, 2021. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and the Supreme Court has had a lot of time on its hands lately just churning out fascist doctrines left and right in the name of Jesus and the GOP. In its latest gambit, and I know it's hard to keep up, they're looking to overturn a ruling that protects voters from being gerrymandered into oblivion. The case is Moore v. Harper, and in it, a state Supreme Court struck down a districting map because it, quote, subordinated traditional neutral redistricting criteria in favor of extreme partisan advantage. The party gunning for this advantage in this case was the GOP. Now, SCOTUS is saying that a state's court didn't have the authority to make that ruling in the first place. And I really wish they would make up their minds. Are we just assigning arbitrary distinctions between what should and shouldn't be left up to the states? Is the GOP still the party of less government, smaller government? Or is that like so much else with the party's now non-existing platform? Is it just conjecture?
If this independent legislature law, that's the doctrine of law, were in effect, the legislature could have done whatever it wanted, including declare Trump the winner, notwithstanding the fact that Biden won by tens of thousands of votes there.
So can we also take a step back to just think about sort of where we are, I think, after this term and why the voting rights case is eyebrow-raising, the fact that they took it up and sort of pretends for what could happen next term. It feels like there's been a sea change this term because, of course, there's now a supermajority of conservatives on the court. But it's also, I think, a reflection of a project that was really decades in the making on a whole host of issues, whether it's church and state, whether it's abortion rights. This was the ultimate long game play by Republicans and the Federalist Society, and really Mitch McConnell. I mean, what has happened on this court is largely due to a project, I think, that he has wanted for quite a while and was willing to put up with quite a lot from the former president in return for being able to get those three justices on the Supreme Court with repercussions for decades to come.
As many of us who live in red states are well aware, redistricting and gerrymandering have both been tools of government that both parties have used historically to command a lead in elections. It's all completely legal and allowed to. Gerrymandering is one of the most destructive forces in our electoral system today, since it's totally fine for a party to draw district lines in such a way that it benefits their party. Overturning the Moore v. Harper ruling would eliminate the few barriers that are still in place to protect voters from becoming completely disenfranchised. The problem with this is that once a party is in power, it can game the map to ensure it stays in power. That's part of the reason why Texans are so sensitive when we're just told all the time to vote our terrible leaders out of office. We can't, and they're making it even harder for us to do so going forward. This permeates through all levels of government. When Beto O'Rourke came dangerously close to unseating Ted Cruz in the 2018 Senate race, the Texas GOP took notice and took steps to ensure that it won't and cannot happen again. While discriminating against voters on the basis of race isn't allowed, it's very hard to prove discrimination, especially when most minority groups tend to vote with the Democrats. Then, assuming you can prove it, someone would actually have to enforce the rule, and if you've been living in this country for the last several years, you're probably not too hopeful in that regard. Redistricting in and of itself isn't a bad thing, or it shouldn't be. It's meant to account for changes and migrations in population. It's meant to take census data into consideration, population densities, general demographics, etc. It's not supposed to benefit one party over the other intentionally, but again, that's hard to prove and harder to enforce. Now, all of this hinges on the independent state legislator doctrine. According to Vox, quote, under the strongest form of this doctrine, all state constitutional provisions that constrain state lawmakers' ability to skew federal elections would cease to function. State courts would lose their power to strike down anti-democratic state laws, such as a gerrymander that violates the state constitution or a law that tosses out ballots for arbitrary reasons. The state's governor, who ordinarily would have the power to veto state election laws, would lose that power, end quote. This would put all of the power in the state legislatures, and in the swing states where the legislature is controlled by Republicans, this could literally change election outcomes. This doctrine is key in overturning Moore v. Harper because in that case, it was the judicial branch, not the legislative branch, that struck down the GOP's gerrymandered map. It's yet another case of the will of the majority being dismissed in the name of democracy. All right. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you got anything out of this. Thank you.